Hello, thank you for tuning into the Natural Health Rising podcast. My name is Rachel Smith. I am a certified functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner, and I've helped hundreds of people naturally reverse symptoms of autoimmune diseases and other health challenges, from digestive issues to hormone imbalances. And in these weekly episodes, you're going to learn from myself and top health experts from around the world about functional medicine and holistic health tips to help you rise to your healthiest, happiest self. Welcome, everyone. I am recording today from Barcelona, Spain, where I've been living for the past week. And I am super excited for this episode with Julian Rosen because Julian is both a friend and somebody that I have worked closely with for my own well-being. I worked with Julian, I believe, for like the first half of last year, and he helped me heal parts of myself that allowed me to feel better emotionally, improve my business, and have better relationships. And I've sent multiple clients and friends to him so that they could receive similar types of healing, support, and growth. And since he's made a big impact on my life, I knew that I wanted to have him on the podcast. So in today's episode, we talk about finding your soul's purpose, why it is important to heal yourself before or as you are building your ideal life, common limiting patterns that could be holding you back, ways to work with difficult emotions, and much, much more. And a little bit more about Julian. He is a transformational coach and facilitator who combines spiritual healing wisdom with applied neuroscience and depth psychology to help people transcend limiting patterns so that they can live a healthy life aligned with their soul's purpose. So enjoy this conversation between myself and Julian. Welcome to the show, Julian.
Hello. Hi, Rachel.
I am very excited to have you on. I've wanted to have you on the show for a long time, and then it just finally occurred to me, oh my gosh, I need to have Julian on. Like, I need to actually invite him. So this has been quite overdue.
We've had some epic conversations, so it's like we may as well record one.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
You
For the listeners who don't know you at all, I would love for you to share some of your story and how that got you to the point of where you're helping people live a more aligned life now.
Yeah. So like the Spark Notes version, right? Like so 10 years ago, like right when I was out of college, which was a super stressful and interesting time for me because it's like, go be a grown-up, like go figure your shit out. And I'm like, what? Right at that time, my mom got diagnosed with cancer, and she got diagnosed a year prior to that. And then, so right as I was graduating college, my mom ended up dying. And so I was at this super difficult, uncomfortable, uncertain time in my life. And I just felt like I had no tools, you know what I mean? I was like, what the fuck do I do? I just had, and I'm kind of brushing over a lot, but like went into a really deep, dark place. And in that deep, dark place, started to make decisions of like, okay, like what is actually important and what is actually not that important, but I was taught it was important. Right? Like just, like kind of some generic things, but I was like, I don't care about my status. I don't care about I don't care about my career path being traditional. I don't care about like money in the traditional sense. I care about it in a different sense now, but like I was like, I just really want to be happy and help people. And whatever it is I'm going through right now, my prayer is that eventually it's of use. Right? Like that, like I was just like, whatever I'm going through right now, like, I call it a prayer just because like, I don't know who I was telling it to, but it wasn't me. I was just like, yo, somebody somewhere, some power greater than me, like whatever grief and depression and whatever I went through after losing my mom, I was like, whatever this is, please help me transmute it into something really helpful. And from there, like my interest was fitness, got into fitness coaching and really, but fitness was really just a vehicle to interact with people and see people and share space with people,
Mm-hmm.
through wellness of the body. Um, and then one morning I woke up and uh uh it just like, I don't know, it was my intuition, or there was just this knowing of like, okay, it's not fitness anymore, it's time for something else. And I was super upset because I had put in so much time and money and energy into my fitness coaching and my brand and my, like, it was just this total, like, I
Mm-hmm.
thought I had made it, right? I had like this online fitness business. I was living in Hawaii. I was like, wow, this is everything I ever wanted. And then, I wake up one day with this deep knowing, like, this isn't it.
Mm.
You're, or you're not done. Um, and I was like 28. So yeah, I shouldn't have been done. But in my head, I was like, yep, once I'm making six figures as a fitness coach, I'm done. Like I thought that, like, I truly thought like once I'm there, like I'm done. My problems are done. I'm going to be happy forever. And it, I got to that place and, I was just like, oh shit, it's time for something else. And so that's really when I started kind of devouring books and podcasts and webinars and trainings from everything kind of holistic, right? So looking at the spiritual journey and the spiritual self, looking at the energetic component and the energy self, looking at, how the mind and the emotions and the etheric body all relate, right? Like really looking at this holistic view of like mindset and spirit and energy and wellness and soul and purpose and transformation and neuroplasticity. And I really got into these intersections of like neuroscience and spirituality. And, eventually I just got to this point of like, and it was kind of arrogant on my part, but I was like, I think I can help people. Right. I was like, I think I can do this. Like, I don't know if I'm being arrogant or if like I have this deep calling, but like, I think I can help people. And so, yeah. And like, 6 or 7 years ago, I kind of just made the decision to help people reconnect with their purpose, help people transform what is no longer of use to them, whether it's at the mental level, the behavioral level, the emotional level, the vibrational level. And that just kind of evolved into, the work you and I did, you know what I mean? In
Mm-hmm.
her, it was equal parts coaching, equal parts healing, equal parts, spiritual coaching, there was multifaceted work. And so I know I skipped a lot and kind of mushed a lot together there, but like it started with a sincere prayer of like, all of this suffering I'm going through, please help me make it useful. And,
Mm-hmm.
and so that prayer has kind of guided things for a very long time, you know?
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do you feel like when you were in that position in Hawaii, when you woke up one day and you're like, there's something off, did, even though you had all of those things, right? The money and this career and all these things you built, did you feel like unhappy? Was that
Um,
something?
a little, well, like I could still look at everything and have a lot of gratitude. Like, wow, I'm still grateful for it all. But like,
Mm-hmm.
it was actually like, it was like this deep, it was like this deep, like, kind of like this deep, oh shit, right? Like this deep, oh shit of like, wow, I thought it was, I really, truly, sincerely thought this was the answer to everything I thought I wanted. And then it was almost like looking behind the curtain and being like, I was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And so, it was like, it was, so it was kind of like a little disappointment, like shit. Like I worked so hard for all of this. And, this isn't the, this isn't the happily ever after, so
Right.
there was like this like letdown. And then there was this like lack of fire and fulfillment on the work front, right? Like I was like, oh, it's getting harder and harder for me to talk about sets and reps. It's getting harder and harder for me to talk about nutrition, in terms of like I like to talk about fitness and nutrition now in the scope of like self-love and healing, but like to just talk about it in terms of like, how do we get 2% body fat to go away? I was just like losing the drive to speak about that. And
Mm-hmm.
so, yeah, there was kind of like this, like kind of like this letdown mixed with like this, oh fuck, what's next, mixed with like, ooh, the spark is kind of fading in terms of like the spark for my work. So yeah, like contentment went down for a little bit. I was like, shit, this stuff no longer is content to me, or contents me, or whatever the verb is, you know?
And do you think that's because you weren't living your true purpose and what you do now is a part of your purpose? Would you say that's part of
I,
it?
yes, so I know your listeners probably don't know much about me, but like, you know, my spiritual relationship with source and with what I consider my guides, right? Like my,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I think everyone's got a team of guides looking out for them. And so looking back retroactively, I'm like, oh, that like literally my higher self, if you will, was like literally tapping me on the shoulder, being like, bro, this is not it.
Yeah.
Right there, you know, it was kind of like closing a door and opening another door. And I just didn't want to walk through the new door because I had worked so hard for the old door. Um,
Oh, I
but
get it.
yeah. I know you've gone through, you know, many doors, right? Many doors.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so, but yeah, you know, I think it was kind of like this inner GPS system trying to get my attention,
Mm-hmm.
right? You know,
Yeah, I think I feel, well, I don't know if you have the same opinion. I feel like everybody definitely has that. And it's like, do we want to listen to it or not? And I had a similar thing when I was going through college and I worked really, really hard and went to school way longer than I ever should have and got too many degrees and did all of these things and worked in corporate America. And then I was like, oh, shit. Like, what am I doing? This is not what I'm supposed to be doing at all. And so I think that if we tap in a little bit more and listen to that inner wisdom, this is not where I was going to go at all, but
whoops.
how do you think people can tap in and listen
Yeah.
to that inner wisdom and follow it?
Yeah. Yeah. So one is to know that everybody has it. Nobody was skipped. Everyone has it. We have received a lot of programming and conditioning to devalue it and to listen to other sources. Um, you know, this isn't like a conspiracy theory, and this is not saying like, oh, we were programmed, you know, out of malice. It's just like a lot of our, you know, our parents and our school and our teachers are like, oh, you know, we learned this. It's funny. So, you know, your brain, you know, we know we have the left brain and the right brain, but we also have the front and the back. We have the cerebrum, which is like the big executive, more like kind of masculine part of the brain, and then the cerebellum in the back, which is more of kind of the feminine aspect of the brain. And it's funny, over 70% of our neurons actually live in the back. But we're actually taught to prioritize like logic and reasoning and execution, right? The more masculine part of the brain. Whereas there's this kind of this like mystical gateway where the back of the brain receives new information, receives new potentials, and then it feeds the executive part of the brain with those new potentials so we can execute on them. It's almost like the front of the brain is the engineer and the back of the brain is the inventor, right? So the you know, engineers take variables that already exist and, you know, remix them to solve problems. Inventors create something from nothing, right? Inventors create something that didn't exist and brings it into existence. And so the back of our mind, the more feminine part of our brain, where more of our neurons actually live, where more of our capabilities live, that is, you know, kind of like that more intuitive spot. But just like any muscle you've been taught, you know, any muscle you use a lot, you're going to, you know, hypertrophy, you're going to develop that muscle, and any muscle you don't use a lot is going to atrophy, right? And so a lot of us, we have become so kind of logic and rational dominant that we've atrophied that kind of that more feminine wisdom intuition place. But it's still there. It may be a little flabby, but it's still there. And so one is just realize we still have it 1000%. It operates through stillness. And so, yeah, you know, most people probably listening to this, right? If you live in kind of like the West or America or whatever, right? Like we're not a very stillness prioritizing culture, right? We prioritize productivity with good. And so a lot of us associate stillness with like nothing. You're not doing anything. That's bad, you know? And so, but it's actually in that stillness where that wisdom can actually speak. It can actually communicate, right? And so, that's why, like, morning routines and meditation and, breath work and moments of stillness are so, they're so beautiful and they're so helpful because they're honoring the other part of us, right? It's like, if you were a bird only trying to fly with one wing, you just go in big circles, right? But a lot of us are like that. We're just trying to execute and be rational and be logic and be productive, and we feel like our life's going in a big circle. And that's because we're only flying with one wing. The other wing, right, is more of that intuition, the more feminine, the more mysterious, the less rational, the less systemized, right? Like, that's still a part of us, right? Whether you're a man or woman, right? We still have that part of us. The masculine and the feminine, I'm talking about archetypal energies. I'm not talking about gender at this point, right? And so it's like we all have that. And so I would say, like, okay, how to get in touch with it more is, one, you still, welcome it, acknowledge it, that you have it, value it, and two would be, some agendaless stillness is when it can speak. Right.
Do you think that the easiest way or best way for people to do this would be through meditation?
Or like 5 grams of mushrooms. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. No, don't do that. Don't do that. Yeah. That might help, but don't do that. Yeah. I mean, well, okay. So it's really, again, it's like agendaless moments, right? Because, okay, like most of us, we use our moments as a means to try to get to other moments, right? We're like, okay, if I do X, Y, and Z in this moment, I'm going to get financially to a new moment. And you know what I mean? Or if I do things right in this moment, if I say the right things in this moment and I look the right way in this moment, this moment's going to leverage me a partner and I'm going to have this happy relationship in the next moment. Right. So we're kind of transactionalizing the moments, hoping that they open the door to receive more. Whereas, like, dancing, for example, right? Like you dance because there's music and your body moves.
Yeah.
Right. Like you dance because you dance, like you go outside and you look at the clouds. You're not being like, oh, that cloud should be 30 degrees to the left. No, you're just like, look at all these fucking clouds being clouds. How great. Right. Like, so it's in these agendaless moments. It's in these non-transactional moments where actually that's when, boom, you actually get access to the greater part of your brain. You get access to the greater part of your wisdom. And so yes, meditation, falls into that category. But literally just like walking your dog without, your phone, or again, without an agenda. Like I'm just literally breathing. I'm a human and I'm walking with my animal. Boom. Like I don't have a purpose here. I'm literally just walking to, just being without doing, right? Dancing, swimming, playing, drawing, you know what I mean? Like literally anything where it's not about the transaction of the moment. It's, you know what I mean? It's something beyond that. It's something more sacred, right? That will put you in touch with it much more. You know what I mean? So things in that category, if that makes sense.
It makes sense to me. It kind of reminds me of, if we're tapping into more of a feminine, if that's the feminine aspect, and also that's the creative side as well, like doing more creative things as well, we kind of can move into that, like the dancing and the art and all of that, in addition to things like meditation and stillness. I like that. Okay.
It's cool.
So what if somebody is I'm sure there's somebody out there listening who feels like they don't know their purpose. How does somebody figure out their soul's purpose?
Here's the easy 3-step formula. No, I'm just kidding. I wish it were that simple. So one is, if you are at a point where you're like, I don't know what my purpose is, you're actually right at the exact point you need to be to step into your purpose. So I'm going to share my take on things. And if it resonates, great. If not, totally cool. Leave it. But, it's my belief that, okay, we are souls, and, we are souls inhabiting a rental vehicle, which is our body, right? Our body is literally the earth, right? Our body is the periodic table of elements that came to life, right? So we're made of the same carbon and nitrogen and all the things that the dirt and the trees are made out of. And then boom, something inhabits that vehicle that is here having a life experience. And so it's my belief that, okay, your soul knew exactly what it was doing when it picked you, when it picked your family, it picked your town, it picked your skills and your talents and your weaknesses. And you know what I mean? because your life trajectory provided your soul the syllabus it needed to learn what it needed to learn in the life classroom. Right? Our souls come to learn and they come to evolve, and then, you know, when the class is over, we give the rental back. Right? And so you're the fact that you are here and you're a conscious being means you're here on purpose 1000%.
Mm-hmm.
You've actually been living out your purpose every moment you've been a conscious until now. That has been part of your syllabus. That's been part of your purpose. And so, you know, I think sometimes we get this dramatized idea that like our purpose is this grand thing where, you know, like we need to be this super visible person that saves you know, like maybe, but it doesn't have to be something like so exaggerated, right? Sometimes you're, you know, like, you know, sometimes your purpose is to just be a super kind you. Like that's your divine point in all this, right? But genuinely and sincerely being like, what is my purpose, means you're starting to collaborate with your life journey much more intentionally instead of reactionally or reactively. And so like sincerely being like, what is it? Why am I here? Like, that's a beautiful question to ask. The pressure of like, and I need to fulfill my soul's destiny, or I'm a big waste, like that's the ego. That's fluff. That's not necessary at all. And so typically like the parts of us that we've denied that we actually deeply want to live out tend to be good clues. Right? Like for example, like there's always been this part of me that like has just wanted to help people.
Mm-hmm.
That has just wanted to like deeply walk with people on their journey. And then, but you know, I had been taught like, well, you can't make a job out of that. You can't just walk with people on their journey and get paid well for it. You got to go get it, you know? And so I denied that part of me, even though like that part, like, even though anytime I was doing that, I felt so good. Right. And also your purpose does not have to be your career. You know what I mean? Like, you know, your purpose doesn't have to be that. You can bring your purpose to it. You know, you can be like a bus driver and be like the most loving bus driver in the entire world, or the most loving lawyer, or you know, like I have a teacher who's like, healers aren't always people that put their hands in people's fields and bring healing energy. You could be a mom and be a healer. You could be a bus driver and be a healer. You could be a CEO and be a healer. It's more of how you look at people, the energy you bring to people, and where you hold them. Do you hold them in your heart? Do you hold them in your ego? You know what I mean? Like talking energetically, right? Bless you. And you know, and so and so, you know, not to get too far off on a tangent, but like if you're at that point of like, I don't know what it is, odds are there's things you know that make you feel really alive. Right? Like you know what I mean? Like, and then there's the stuff that makes us feel entertained, right? Like, you know, like in my 20s, I was like, Oxycontin really makes me feel alive. You know, right? Partying with my friends makes me feel alive. No, that entertained me and made me feel sad and pleasure. But like, I'm talking about like, there is stuff I bet you that you do maybe once a week, once a year, I don't know, where you're like, that filled me up. Being kind to that person filled me up. Giving that homeless person $10 for whatever reason really filled me up. You know, and so those are clues, right? Those are clues as to, you know, those are clues. And so it's like, listen, you know, do your best to follow the clues and be gentle and be patient, right? But like, yeah, if you're listening to this, you have a magnificent purpose for sure. And it's just oftentimes we are taught to value things that don't always align with our purpose. And so it's, you know, we got to do some inner work sometimes and look at what were the values that were handed to us versus like what is authentic to us, you know, and do some inner work maybe.
Yeah. Could it be as simple as someone making like an inventory of all these things that fill them up, and listening to their inner wisdom, and then choosing
from that, like, okay, I see the pattern. Like, I'm going to choose that this is my purpose. Is that
Yes.
how it
Yeah.
can work?
So that can totally like narrow the search.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like that can totally narrow the search, right? Like, because and dude, inventory is good.
Mm-hmm.
Like compassionate and curious inventory, not analytical, like, oh, let me see, let me judge myself, right? Like self-criticism serves zero purpose. It literally serves zero purpose. It is not your friend, because self-criticism has no friends. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
but like with curiosity, like, wow, like have some amazement for the being that you are. You are quite extraordinary. Like if you ever, there's a reason why like cognitive psychology and quantum physics fascinate me, because I'm like, how do we do this? How do I, like, for those of you that can't see me, I'm like moving my hand. I'm like, how does this happen?
Yeah.
Right? Like, how the fuck does this happen? And actually, if any physicist would tell you, you're not even a dense meat suit. You're actually a field of energy. There's more
Right.
space than you are matter and stuff. So what's preventing our particles from just flying off into the atmosphere, right? Like it's just fascinating to be like, all right, so billions of cells just do the perfect thing every second, and I don't even have to think about it, right? Like my blood travels through miles of veins and arteries every fucking day. I don't have to think about it. Like, what's doing that, right? Like, you're
Yeah.
not just a random lonely meat suit that has to go fight the world. But we have the power of our mind. We have the power of our consciousness. So if that's the attitude you hold, you'll cognitively build that life. You'll get to be right, so and so like a lot of our deep beliefs become like a chicken or the egg situation, where it's like, is that the way it is because that's the way life is, period? Or is that the way it is because at some level you learn to think and believe that way, and you've actualized it energetically and you've constructed it cognitively, and now you're the magician playing the magic trick on yourself, right? Like when you really get into, again, psychology and vibration, and it's a whole beautiful rabbit hole. It's my favorite rabbit hole to go down. And but to get back to your original question, right? Curious and compassionate self-inventory is like great. And yes, you will definitely see some themes emerge. You'll totally see some themes emerge. Your purpose may not jump out as like a shiny one-liner, like a marketing like one-liner. But again, you'll see that the wind's blowing you in a certain direction and go there.
Right.
And I like Oprah. I like Oprah just because like Oprah, like, I don't know, she just says beautiful things that seem like too woo-wooey, but then you're like, well, Oprah makes like $9 million a day. So like, but she says like, go where you feel super engaged.
Yes.
She's like, engagement and success always hang out together. Always.
Yeah.
They always hang out together, right? And so it's like, typically your purpose is where you feel the most called to engage. And if you're worried that your purpose is going to leave you successless, engagement and success go hand in hand. They're two wings of the same bird, right? So it's like, yeah. So do the inventory thing and see what themes come out of that.
I love that. Yes. And I really like that you said the compassionate and curious part. Okay. So outside of purpose, people chase a lot of other things, right? Jobs, money, relationships, cars. We're looking for all these things. We're trying to build this ideal life. But you believe that in order to build whatever ideal life that you envision, we have to heal ourselves before we get there. So one, why is this order of operations important? And I want you to also explain to the audience a little bit more. What do you mean by healing? What does that look like?
Right. And so I also want to go on the record and say, inherently, there's nothing bad or wrong with, like building a life that has a lot of cool shit in it. You know what I mean? Like money's not inherently bad. Cars aren't inherently bad. Geez, yeah, loving relationships, not bad. But but the reason why it is important to heal the self first, or at least understand that that needs to be happening while you're, transforming the outer stuff, is because our unhealed parts go with us.
Mm-hmm.
And money and success are amplifiers of what's already there. Money is energy, right? And energy is an amplifier. Just like, think of Christmas lights. If you have a red Christmas light and you force more wattage into that bulb, it's just going to be a brighter red Christmas light. You know what I mean? It's not going to change its color, right? It's just going to get brighter. And so when we have these wounds, and so, I'll talk about healing in a moment, but like, we all have patterns of thought and behavior that have mostly become unconscious that used to protect us, because a part of us needed that protecting. And it's those wounds and those compensations that create what it is we're trying to solve with the money and accomplishment, right? So we feel truly, right? We're all very unique and beautiful and special, but there's these huge trends of being human and the wounds we share, right? And so not feeling safe, not feeling secure, not feeling loved, not feeling valued, not feeling masculine enough, not feeling feminine or beautiful enough, right? Like these deep things that then these patterns emerge to protect those things. We get tired of the worry. We get tired of the insecurity. We get tired of in feeling insignificant. And then we think, because we've been trained and programmed, that the accomplishment or the acquisition of the thing is actually going to fill the hole. But again, money and achievement and things like that actually amplify it. Right. So it's like, if you're really bad with money and someone hands you a lottery ticket that you win, you're just going to find bigger ways to play out your bad money situation. If you are a stingy asshole and you are a billionaire, you're just going to have a bigger, more exaggerated way of showing it. If you are loving and compassionate and you're a billionaire, your loving compassion is going to be amplified and it's going to be great.
Mm-hmm.
And so if I want to say this in a way that is respectful to, because I've been there. I've been in the position of like, dude, you're wrong. I just need the thing. Right. Like literally when I was building my fitness business, if someone was like, hey man, I think you need to love yourself more, I'd be like, no, fuck you. I know for a fact that I need a 6-figure online fitness business so I can live on the beach. I know that's what I need. I will be so happy and I'll be done. And then I can worry about the inside stuff, like, and I obviously needed to work on my humility. Right. But like when, okay, the law of resonance is real. There's this amazing quote by Einstein of all people. And he said, everything is vibration. Everything is energy. Whatever frequency you're in, your life will match that frequency. He says it's not philosophy, it's just physics. Mm-hmm. And so again, if we could put on the lens of a physicist right now and look at everything as vibration, right? Especially a quantum physicist, we all have an unconscious, or what Carl Jung calls a shadow, right? So right now you and I, we're in our, in my conscious awareness, I could see you and we're having this amazing conversation, and like over 98% of what's actually happening and being registered and digested and filtered is all, like 98% of that is happening unconsciously. And then, there's like 5 to 7 bits in my conscious awareness. And I'm like, oh, I'm a person having a conversation with this awesome person. And here we are. And that is true, but it's simultaneously not all that's true. Right.
Okay. So
right now I have a shadow. I have parts of me that are still held behind guilt and shame. There are parts of me that still feel wounded and insignificant. I have a bunch of preconceived notions and assumptions and belief systems that are from past experiences that may or may not serve me. And they're all still back there. Mm-hmm. It doesn't make them bad, but they're in my shadow. They're all there. And everything in your field vibrates. Everything in your field emits a vibration. And due to the law of resonance, everything in your shadow not only vibrates, but it contributes to your cognitive filters. It contributes to how you see yourself and how you see reality, all unconsciously, right? And this is all happening in like less than 1/10 of a second every second, right? Mm-hmm. So I say all of that to say all of those unhealed parts And it's totally fine, normal, healthy, and good to have unhealed parts. We all have unhealed parts. But it's the protection mechanisms that were put in place to compensate for those unhealed parts. They all vibrate. They all emit a vibration. And so a lot of those vibrations are based in fear or guilt or unworthiness or loneliness or apathy or pride or anger or whatever, right? These unhealed parts. And so if we work really, really hard to build to build the life we think we want from the outside in, we're still going to actualize, manifest, and cognize all of our unhealed parts anyway. And it's my theory that, well, what we're working really hard to do is kind of outrun our unhealed parts, when in reality, we just need to look at them. Because then the life we're working so hard to build, we can still have it, but we're less attached to it. Right? When we're more healed and more integrated, we can have all the nice stuff, but we're like, our identity is no longer obsessed with it. Our happiness is no longer hinged on it. And it's my guess that when you no longer desperately need the thing, you can actually engage with it more. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Think of a relationship. If you don't desperately need that relationship to complete you, you can actually see that human for what they are and love them more deeply. Right? They're no longer playing in your game. You know what I mean? Or you in theirs,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was the first example that came to my mind, was relationships. Definitely.
Yeah. And it's like, the more you can see somebody, the more you can deeply love them. But if we have a bunch of unhealed parts, we're not seeing that person for who and what they truly objectively are. Again, we're seeing them through the filters of our wounds and our neuroses and our projections, right? And that's not a bad thing. As humans, we all do it. I do it. We all do it. But it's like trying to lower it. You know what I mean? And so it's kind of like this. It's like, would you rather have 100 pictures of the most delicious? What's your favorite food?
Steak.
Okay, there we go. Like, would you have 100 4K high quality images of like the most beautiful steak ever, or like one actual delicious steak you could eat right now?
Of a delicious real steak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so a lot of us, like, we're chasing this concept of a life we think will give us the safety and the love and the completion and the peace. But even when we get it, it's still just the concept. We can't really see it and engage with it without any neediness, because we're needing it to complete the wounded parts of ourselves. And so again, I would argue that, like, not only is healing yourself great and beautiful and peaceful and part of your divine purpose, but it actually allows you to engage more fully with the life you're working so hard to build anyway.
Yeah.
And the healing question I wanted to get to too, because I know you're like, well, dude, what is healing? Should we guide into that, or should we
go for it?
Okay. So healing is the restoration of the essential self. Okay. So think of, like, if you get a big cut on your arm, and, the cut takes your skin, which was one cohesive organ, and it momentarily split into two. And so what happens? Your body magically, you don't got to tell it to do shit. Your body magically initiates a magical potion of self-healing chemicals and hormones, and bloop, the one that got split into two becomes one again. And maybe with a beautiful scar, right? That's healing, right? And so you and me, we are one essential us. Throughout life, we encounter moments where we had to become two, right? Where we became the wounded self. And in the moment we became the wounded self, we also had to become the protector of the wound, right? There was a moment where we were just an innocent child, just learning life. And then boom, we encountered something severe or intense or traumatic. And that innocent oneness had to turn into, okay, here's the part of our innocence that has to be withheld. And here's what emerges to compensate and protect that part of us that's no longer safe. And again, this is not bad. This is a healthy, normal part of the human experience, of the incarnate experience, right? So there's a moment, there's a time, there's a chapter of our life where we are one and we fractionate into two, right? The wound and the protector, right? The child and the part of us has to mature to protect the inner child, right? We step into roles, and we do that, and it works. You know what I mean? It works. Beautiful. If you're listening to this, I'm sure you're not living in a ditch somewhere. So it worked. It worked. And this is not mine. This is a dear teacher of mine, Jonathan Goldman, says the protector then becomes the prison guard. Right? So the thing that was put into place, the thing that our psyche put into place to protect us, doing the best that we could, eventually becomes the prison guard, becomes the trap of our potential and our authentic self. And then what can happen is if the protector is put, if we never address the protector becomes the poison, right? Like can literally become the sickness, can literally become the addiction, can literally become the thing that starts to kill us, right? So the protector, which we needed, if left there too long, can become the prison guard. And then if the prison guard remains, if we remain kind of limited by that thing for long enough, it'll degrade into the poison, the bitterness, the self-soothing that can turn into addiction or dependency, right? Like, and so it's kind of like these things have expiration dates, right? Like, okay, whatever you did to protect yourself, whether, let's take people pleasing for an example, like that's something I struggled with for a long time. Like I needed that kept me safe, right? That kept me safe. That made sure I had friends and made sure that I had a social circle that I could, get a validation from, right? And then at some point that reliance on people pleasing was choking my ability to grow my business and help people. Right. Because, sales is tough when you're a people pleaser because you're like, I don't want to call your bullshit. I don't want to say my price. And what if it makes you uncomfortable? I just want to please you. Right. And so that was a moment where I needed to heal. It was time for me to heal. And as I did, I was able to help more people, and so, so the things we heal aren't bad. Our old forms of self-protection, even though they may have graduated to self-sabotage, they're still not bad. They were just outdated self-love. It expired and now it's starting to stink, and so that's where healing happens or needs to happen.
You've mentioned a couple just within the past couple minutes, but what are some of the most common limiting patterns that you have seen working with clients? Yeah.
And so one is like you so there's a difference between like the smoke and the fire. You know what I mean? Like the fire is really what's causing things and the smoke is just what happens, right? And so like when I work with a lot of people who, again, when it's we live in a society where like money is just an undeniable part of doing things, right, and exchanging value. And so money is like one of the most convenient places to project our unhealed concepts of self-worth and acceptance, right? And so I see a lot of people who have these denied parts of themselves that make them feel unworthy, and then boom, they get projected onto money or career or whatever. And so here's what I'll say. So yes, there's people pleasing, there's like worthiness, insecurity, there's there's kind of like obviously dependency upon something outside yourself for validation. There's all these things, right? If you boil them down to like, well, what are they standing on? Or if it's a big Jenga tower, like what's the actual Jenga block holding these fucking things in place? It usually comes down to guilt and shame.
Okay.
Right? Guilt is there's something I've done that makes me imperfect or bad, and it's my fault. Shame is, so guilt is like, something that I did or wasn't able to do makes me bad, makes me less good. Shame is, it's not what you did, it's just you. Right? So guilt is kind of like behavior based. Shame is like, nope, there's just something in you, something about you that makes you less. right? Something about who you are or where you're from or how you look that just makes you bad. And so these are kind of like these are like the soil that all the other stuff grows from. I'm just gonna let my dogs in real quick, but this is like somebody. These are like the like I said, these are like the Jenga blocks that allow for the people pleasing or the worthiness, unworthiness, or the self-doubt, self-sabotage, or the procrastination, right? Like those are all kind of like the smoke, but the fire is typically like at some point in your life experience when you didn't know any better, you told yourself a necessary lie. And that lie was, again, something I did or wasn't able to do made me bad or made me imperfect. And it's someone's fault or it's my fault. And like that, that's one of the core wounds.
Yeah.
And so how you shift any belief is exposing it as illusion and remedying it with the truth. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I'm about to say is true for me. Nothing you could ever do could make you less worthy of anything. You know what I mean? Like your worthiness and lovability has never, ever fluctuated. But we learn those things are transactional, right? We learn our lovability and we learn our worthiness is transactional, and then it can fluctuate. And just for me, I just think that's total bullshit. I just think that's total bullshit. And so a lot of my healing work, especially when it comes to, again, like money, career, relationship, like if you are 100% convinced that the problem is out there, that it's the thing, there's a part of you tucked way back in the part of your shadow that you haven't been able to look, and it's asking to come forward. And you don't got to fix it. You just got to look at it and feel it. You got to face it, feel it, and forgive it. The 3 F's. And then beautiful things just happen. I swear I've seen it thousands of times. Like when you heal the inner parts, the outer problems remedy themselves because they are just extensions of the inner stuff.
So when we look at the people pleasing, the procrastination, the self-sabotage, the addiction, whatever it is, what you're saying is if we take this guilt or shame or whatever this root emotion is and we face it, feel it, and forgive it, that's the remedy.
Yes. And there's tons of nuance, obviously, in between all
Yes.
that. You know what I mean? And if we had another couple hours, we could jam. But yes, and yes, there's nuance and exception. But yes, predominantly, because guilt and shame, they warp our relationship with receiving. And pleasure. They warp our relationship with receiving and feeling good. Right? And that's how addictions play out, right? And addictions don't always have to be super destructive substances like drugs and alcohol. Addictions are things we do that we know aren't good for us.
Sure. Food.
Food could be picking up your phone and just scrolling, even though you have no business. Like, you don't really need to. It could be judgment. It could be, it could be so many things. Some of us have addictions to feeling bad about resting.
That's me 100%. I'll raise my hand on that one. I have a really hard time like not doing something. I'm like, I should be working right now. I need to be working.
Yeah. And it just means you're healing, me too. Again, it's our culture is pretty, we need a cure for everything that our culture does to us, right? Because our culture normalizes that stuff. And again, I'm not saying I'm not saying our culture is inherently evil. I'm just saying it's really misguided. Right? Yeah. It's really misguided. It's really negligent of what humans truly need. And so, but yeah, it's in there. It's in the zeitgeist or whatever. It's like, but yes, like, because here's the thing. Guilt and shame are like corks in our like energetically. right? Because, thoughts and emotions and concepts have energy, right? Thought forms have energy. Guilt and shame, they quite literally lock down your throat chakra. Your throat chakra is how you express your creativity and how you receive. Right. And so again, guilt and shame, they quite literally like lock us down. And then, and then we have this distorted relationship with expressing and receiving. And then, we compensate and we do all these things, right? We do all these things in order to receive in different ways, in order, we don't speak up, but then we'll gossip later, you know what I mean? Like all these distorted things. And it's, and so, yes, so like looking at the pieces that are held under guilt and shame, and looking at guilt and shame as total illusions, you know what I mean? Like, and that's why spirituality is so big for me, because my spiritual journey every single time points to, like, again, your belovedness has never fluctuated a particle in the divine's eyes. You know what I mean? In the universe's eyes. And I'm like, oh, whoops. I had it wrong.
I would love to we're coming up to a close soon, but I would love to leave the listeners with some like actionable steps that they could take. So if someone is out there experiencing guilt and shame or anxiety or any of these like really heavy emotions, and you could maybe give both or choose what you think would be most beneficial. Like, how can people maybe tackle them when they arise, or what is like a good step for them to take to move forward through that?
Yeah. So a mentor of mine once taught me the 4 F's, and they've been so helpful with like this inner work stuff, because when something uncomfortable happens, our initial response is like, how do I fix this? How do I make this go away? How do I not feel this? Look at the pharmaceutical industry, right? Like there's a lot of people not trying to feel things. And so the 4 F's are, okay, so let's say something comes up and you're like, I just feel guilty for resting or whatever, right? Don't fight it. Don't try to fix it. Don't try to figure it out. Don't follow it. And like, and I know this sounds almost too passive, but like literally in your heart, right? Meaning anchor your awareness in the center of your chest and just breathe and be like, I accept this. I accept this right now, right? It doesn't mean you're settling for the rest of your life. You're literally saying in this moment, I can accept this. And, and our egos are like, and then what? It's like, no. Like if we're looking for just like, how do we open the door? Right? Because what is condemned cannot be liberated. And so when we're like, oh, I'm feeling guilty and this is bad, how do I fix this? How do I make this go away? We're condemning the fact that this is popping up in our awareness, where in reality, if it's coming into our consciousness, it's looking to be accepted. Right? And so it's like, I accept this. I don't need to fix this. There's nothing to fix. You know what I mean? There's nothing to fix. And I like to place my hand on my heart and just breathe. Like, okay, I can take 30 seconds. I can not fight it, fix it. I can not figure it out and not follow it. And I can just breathe and just be like, okay, I can accept that this is here. It's not who I am. It's not, everything, but I can accept it. And it just softens things, it just kind of like opens if you think of yourself as a chimney, if you're a chimney and there's a lot of old smoke that needs to come out, acceptance just keeps the flume open. So shit can leave. You know what I mean? And so I know it sounds simple because it is, but that right there is like big. Like, there are Zen masters who have been practicing that for 70 years. You know what I mean? Because it's necessary. It's like, oh, I can accept this.
Yeah.
Right. There's nothing wrong here. I can accept this.
Yeah.
And that just kind of liberates some stuff, lets things move a bit, and movement creates health.
I like that. I think that's a good starting place. Yeah. Because most people want to fight it, fix it, figure it out. And it's like creating this tension. And if you don't have the answer, it's like continuously butting your head against a wall, basically, and kind of staying stuck in that lower frequency emotion or thing that's happening. Yeah.
And it's like it's all about like the deeper implication, right? And so if we're constantly like, I need to fix this, well, we only fix what is implied to be broken. And so if we're like, I need to fix myself all the time, we're again, I think that's a noble intention to improve and heal. But if you're constantly berating your subconscious mind with, I'm broken, I'm broken. Therefore, I need the fix. You're going to keep perpetuating brokenness.
Yes.
You know, and so that's why acceptance is like such a big thing, you know, such a big door opener for transformation. It's like, you don't need fixing. There may be a beautiful transformation trying to happen, but that's not fixing because you're not broken. I'm in a growth phase. Okay. Something's trying to transform. Okay. You know, that's a different energy than like, I'm all messed up. Someone fix this, you know, like, you know?
Yeah, that's something that's been coming up a lot in my thoughts about my clients personally, and just thinking about people with their health is they realize that they're in a bad place with their health. Things are going wrong. They have an autoimmune disease, whatever it is, and they get into this pattern of fixing. But then it's like they think that there's like this golden gate that they need to reach, like this like optimal health, that's everything. And it's like if they're not there, then there's still something wrong with them, and they keep pushing, and you get stuck in this perpetual cycle. And so I like to remind people, like, this is a lifestyle that you're adopting. Like, this is a lifestyle transformation, and yes, you can continuously work on yourself, but don't be so hard on yourself, and enjoy life, and like enjoy the pleasures of life and everything. And as you were saying with how that makes sense, like guilt and shame are blocking you from receiving pleasure and acceptance and all these things. It's a part of moving that out. That's a part of that puzzle. So, okay.
And I just want to say, I've been there too. So just like, I've been there too, of like, I'm not going to rest until I'm 100% healed. And then it's more of like a journey, you know. It's not like a sprint to a destination. It's just like, just accept that, like, we're all kind of fucked up and we're all working on it, and new stuff's going to come up, and that's okay too. you know?
Yeah. Okay. We got to go. We are over time, but I want to end with just like a couple questions that are speed round questions. So literally answer as fast as you can. No explanation, just like first thing.
No explanation. Okay.
And then we'll wrap it up in like 2 minutes here.
Cool.
Okay. What is your favorite thing to do for stress reduction?
Oh, swim in the ocean or boxing.
Okay. If you could have any superpower, what would it be?
Flying around really fast.
If you were on a deserted island, what 3 things would you bring with you?
My wife. Oh man, my dogs, both of them. And a lifetime supply of jerky.
Nice. If you could leave the listeners with one tip that they could actually implement this week to help them live a healthier, happier life, what would that be?
Yeah. Like, for real, as best you can, my friend, be gentle. Like, be gentler.
Okay.
Be as gentle as you can with yourself, right? Like, there's this song I love, and it says every day is a childhood. And it's like, because we've never done this day before. We've never done October 24th, 2023. So how the fuck are we supposed to have it figured out? You know? And so it's like, just like, even if it's just a particle more, just like soften up just a bit, and it'll be big ROI in the long run.
I love that. And then finally, share how people can find you, reach you, work with you, and any other final thoughts.
Cool. I don't know when this will air. I'm assuming in the next couple weeks or cool. So I just launched my group coaching program called The Awakened Life, where like all the principles we talked about today, like you'll get walked through like how to do this journey. And there's live coaching with me every week, as well as like deep hypnosis and meditations and daily practices and really cool resources, and a thriving community and stuff. And and so now to the I'll send you a link. Anybody that joins on the link I send you will get the early promo rate. It'll be like $150 a month, and it's just a subscription. You can stay as long as you want. But use that link. It's julianrosen.com. I'll send it to Rachel. And then, Instagram, I just post stuff all the time, just in terms of like tools and principles and stuff. And that's just Julian Rosen _.
Perfect. Yes. I will put all the links in the show notes, and thank you so much for being on the show, Julian.
Oh, my pleasure. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Thank you so much for watching this video. Don't forget to like this video and comment, letting me know what you enjoyed and what you want to see more of. Also, please subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you get alerts when new content is coming out and you don't miss any videos. And just a quick reminder that this information is for educational and entertainment purposes only. It is not intended to diagnose, treat, or cure any illness or medical condition. Please consult with a qualified healthcare professional before making any changes to your diet, exercise routine, supplements, or medical treatment. If you're looking for a functional medicine practitioner, please reach out to me. And thank you again for watching, and keep striving to become your healthiest, happiest self.